Hey y'all, it's the multifaceted mom, aka Lataya, and I'm back with another video. Now this video has been requested multiple times through comments, through questions in my last video, and I just want to take this time to finally get to it, y'all. I know that I've been in Houston for since September, and it's now May, so we are pretty much about 7-8 months in. And I know you guys have had a lot of questions. I've tried to answer as many as I can immediately or as soon as I see it. But this is going to be pretty much a 6-month update, even though it's kind of late. But a 6-month update about how it has been since moving to Houston. As a backstory, if you guys are new here, I moved to Houston in September. As a single mom of 2 by myself with no job. It was a faith move, it was a faith move. I got my TH and V. Anyway, yeah, so I moved, and a lot of things transpired between the time that I planned on moving and the time that I moved. So in the last video, it was a very long video. I pretty much broke down the process in which I moved and how everything transpired, because it was not my original plan to go to Houston without a job, because I definitely was working, but I ended up getting laid off in the middle of planning and going and committing and kind of starting the process to go to Houston. So yes, that's how it worked, but I still decided to go because I felt like God had put it in my heart to go regardless. I actually had a dream, and I believe I talked about it in my last video. I had a dream, or like a daydream, where I just felt, this is before I was laid off, it was just something that came upon me that was like, if you get laid off, will you still trust me and go? And I said yes. So when I got laid off, it really wasn't too much of a surprise. However, I was still determined to go. And I'm going to be answering y'all questions in this video. I tried to go down a list of questions that I may not have answered, questions that needed a little bit more detail. So let's get into it. I'm going to be reading off my laptop because it was a few questions. So the first question is, how did I find my apartment? I found my apartment through an apartment finder. It's a couple pages on Instagram called Living in Houston or Apartments in Houston. It's a few of those pages, and I can pretty much link the Instagram pages below in the description. But those pages, if you inquire about one of the properties that they post, they're going to link you to a apartment finder. And then that apartment finder is going to contact you, and that's kind of how it went. Any area that I had asked for or asked about, he sent me a list of apartments, and it wasn't just like a document. It was like a whole database of different apartments that I can choose from. I can explore. I can set up spaces or time to go and tour. And they also offer virtual tours. So if, in case you can't go to Houston before you actually move, or if your budget is tight, you can get a virtual tour if you would like, because they have it on a website, and if you contact the leasing agent, you could go through it that way. The best areas to move in Houston. Now, I got this question a few times. I'm a little biased because I really absolutely loved Katy when I moved. It really gave peace. It gave something different than I'm used to in terms of just a slower pace, more suburban, thriving area. However, it is other areas in Houston that I will move to if the school system wasn't top notch in Katy, which is one of the main reasons why I chose Katy specifically in Houston. One of the areas I would say is Pearland. I have a friend who lives in Pearland. Love the homes. Love the homes. I have not looked at the apartments though, but I love the homes. It is a bit more pricey, kind of in comparison to Katy. But I think that Pearland, Missouri City, Sugar Land, those 3 cities are very good areas to live in. And I think that in comparison to Katy, it is more people that are color, and they are thriving. They are, having businesses. I think that would actually, I don't know if you guys know, but in later videos I talk about it, but I am coming close to graduating and becoming a therapist. So I plan on opening my private practice in that area, actually, because of how thriving it is. And it's been, my friend said it's been being built up for a very long time. And Katy is kind of becoming newer to that in the sense of like more diversity. So those three areas, hands down, they have malls, they have shopping centers, they have stores, they have a lot of businesses, a lot of restaurants. Now, I'm not gonna lie, Katy do not have a lot of restaurants with things that I would eat. So if that's important to you, definitely take that into consideration. Katy, Pearland, a lot of these neighborhoods also have like parks and stuff in all of the neighborhoods. Parks, tennis courts, just a lot. So those areas. I also didn't mention Cypress, which is kind of like 30 minutes away from Katy, which it also has a very good school system, by the way. I have not been out there as much, but when I do go out there, if I'm like going to, pick up a Facebook Marketplace thing or whatever, or if I'm going to, I don't know, like if I'm just randomly out there, it is a very nice area, because I have been to a church out there. Very good area. So if y'all want, definitely would suggest. Also, I want to mention that these neighborhoods or these cities that I'm mentioning have different cities and areas within them. They have different zip codes that belong to different school systems. So it's kind of different as opposed to before, or like in Michigan, if you're from Detroit, all of DPS is DPS. But like Katy, for example, is kind of split, where like certain zip codes belong to Cypress, and certain zip codes belong to Katy ISD. Both good school systems, both good school districts. But yeah, so the next question is about childcare. So I thought this was really funny because a lot of people are like, oh, like, how did you move with no support system? How did you get into childcare? Now, in September, I filled out these applications before I got here, but it did take a long time with fault of my own. Nobody else's fault. I was trying to submit this application without a birth certificate and a passport. They wanted birth certificate, passport, social security, or birth certificate or a passport, social security card, ID, proof of residence. So those things are hands down most important. And a lot of, like, I never had my passport, and that's what will always hold these processes up for me, especially with insurance. I just really want to get into that later, because that is something that people want, or somebody had a really good question on. It's like never having a very detailed video about things like that. So with childcare, here it's called NCI/Workforce Solutions. And I would go to a website called, let me see. I believe the website is called Workforce Solution, but you can call a number to get these resources. I believe it's just 211 when you get to Texas. But anyway, so the way I end up getting it, you can get childcare assistance if you have a job offer letter, if you already have a job, with paycheck stubs, things like that. That process was frustrating for me because it was a lot of like back and forth. It was a lot of time where they have to review, and then it has to go to a case manager, and if your case gets denied because they miss information, it's just the whole process over again. But I'm telling you, things would have went much faster had I known what I know now, which is to have your information ready, birth certificate, kids information, birth certificate, social security, job offer letter. Make sure whatever job you have, and this also counts online. So if you have a virtual job, boom, there you go. If you are self-employed, that also counts, but make sure you have your LLC, your EIN, your W-2 or W-9 or W-2, whichever one. But like, make sure you have your ducks in a row, because Texas is very strict on having all your documents. Because like Michigan was kind of more lenient with that, but like Texas do not play. I also, because I did not have a job when I came, let me just be clear, but I had a friend who already lived here who had an event space opening, and I kind of had her write a letter. So, and in case you are from there, you know, I have a job. We go forget about that. But anyway, yeah, I had a friend write a job offer letter. Technically, it was legit. It was a legit business. But it's people who like do that in Facebook groups that I saw. Like, they might be a salon owner or like a business owner, and they do it themselves. Like, they will literally offer to write you a job letter offer or job offer if you pay them. Even for apartments as well, which I didn't know either. What did I do for money? So I saved, this was not for the move, let me just be clear, but I had about a little short of 10K before I came, but that was not for the move. I just happened to already be saving my money. And I was blessed in that I knew that that amount of money was going to at least last me until I got my taxes in February. Which I got my taxes in February, and it overlapped again to where it lasted me more time as well. So I was able to kind of stretch my money. I have been always good at saving. I also had a virtual assistant job, which I explained in my video about moving to Houston. But I ended up scoring a big client but it was about $700, and then another client that was about $500. So that was like $1,200 in addition to what I was already getting from my savings and stuff like that. So that kind of like was more cushion for me to pretty much not have to change so much about my lifestyle, but just kind of tread lightly in how I moved and things like that. I will be honest, y'all, my credit has drastically suffered because I had to, when it got tight, I had to choose what bills to pay, what bills not to pay. So if that's the sacrifice that you're willing to take, do it. For me, I think credit scores can always go up. You can get a credit repair specialist when you get on your feet, after you get your apartment, stuff like that. Like, and also apartments out here, I know one apartment that I looked at, she was like, girl, we have approved somebody with like a 500 credit score. So I don't know if the credit score is as much important out here as it is in other places, but that's also something to consider. Finding a job out here, it's so funny because I actually had more success with finding a job in Facebook groups than I did on Indeed and LinkedIn. I was in a group called Moving to Houston, which they posted jobs. I was also in a group called Katy, Texas Jobs, where they posted different job fairs. They posted hotel jobs that you could get. They posted a lot of information, and like people who directly hired was posting in these groups. And I'll get back to that later. How did I move with kids? So I'll break it down from custody and filing court papers and stuff like that. So every situation is different, y'all, which I really want y'all to take into consideration. I had sole legal and sole physical custody. Sole physical custody does not mean as much, but sole legal custody means more. It carries more weight. However, also a caveat to that is that I was not co-parenting with somebody else. Like my ex or their father had supervised visits. mandated by the court, which he did not exercise. So at the time, he had not seen my kids for like a year before I moved. And so that, in combination with me having full legal custody, made it 1,000 times easier. I also hired a lawyer, which I'm still paying on that and I still owe. So let's just take that into consideration as well. And if you have connections, then, it may work in that way, but you can also do this yourself, because I talked to a couple lawyers who I explained my case. They was like, you really could do this yourself. But I was too scared to do it. So now I got this extra bill, that I owe. But when I tell y'all the case was 5 minutes, I had so much anxiety with the judge, and it was just like, well, she has full legal custody. It's really nothing much you can do. And I also went as far as, which I think makes a dramatic difference, when you show that you want that other parent to be involved and you're not trying to like isolate. I searched supervision agencies down here, in which even had more flexibility. It wasn't just one building. It was actually like a social worker who went to different, who would go to different places if they wanted to. So if they want to go to a park, if he wanted to come down here and travel and like take them to like somewhere, she would just go with them and kind of stay her distance. So I went as far as making sure that resource was available and leaving that door open. Also scheduling like weekly Zoom calls. But at the time, since supervision was still mandated, it was, they kind of was like, hey, you gonna still do it virtually supervised visits. So yeah, that's kind of how that went, in which still was not exercised for whatever reason is none of my business. Filing the court papers, one thing that I made sure of, you have to kind of show why this move is beneficial for your kids. And this is for people who have some type of custody arrangement or some type of like visitation arrangement, and they actually have a relationship. If the father does not agree, you can still go to court, and you can still, he don't have like the final say so. You can still go to court, but y'all are going to be fighting in court. He needs to show that his relationship with his kids is worth the kids staying there, and you also need to show that that this move is beneficial to them. So showing the school system, showing, if your kid is like speech delay, if your kid is on a spectrum, and certain school districts and different states have better support systems and better systems for you. Do you have family in that area? Do you have more of a support system in different areas? That type of stuff is going to be in your favor. And also still just emphasizing that like you are willing to still make a relationship work with them and the kids, whether that's weekly phone calls, daily phone calls. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as daily phone calls. That's a little too much for my 2 and 3-year-old. But like if they had their own phone, absolutely, you call them, whatever. But like, just making sure that your intentions are still for them to have a relationship, even if the dad is not active. Because that's kind of where I feel like where my heart was and why God's favor was over me, is because it was truly coming from a place where I'm trying to provide me and my kids a better life. If I'm not getting child support, I'm not getting physical support, and it's all up to me, I need to make the moves that I need to make, and that's just that. Leaving my support system. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I had a support system, don't get me wrong. It was something I can appreciate, but it was not good enough for me to stay and be like, oh, I don't know what I would do without them. Like, I did 99.9% of the work for me and my kids. I mean, I still struggle with both my kids every single day. It was not like it used to be in the old days when your kids would be at this person's house, that person's house, when one grandparent picking up the child, from school, stuff like that. That's not the type of support system I had. I had a support system in which maybe I needed, you know, my mom to get them in case of an emergency once a month, like pick them up from school. Or my best friend, God bless her heart, she was a huge support system in that she knew I didn't have any breaks. So she would be like, bring the kids over, go get some time alone. Like, that was my homegirl. So solid system. I also had another friend who would help me. So it was not like, I don't know how other people have it, but I was not just dropping my kid off at my mama's house and going somewhere. Homegirl got a whole full life. So I just want to say that. So moving wasn't like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do without my support system. It wasn't that deep for me. And I think the pros outweighed those cons. I think I already answered the question about co-parenting because somebody had a question about that. And I hope my tips pretty much helped about co-parenting. From out of state, I don't really have too much to say about that because I am not in that position. But what I will say is have boundaries, still keep, you know, your kids at the forefront, but also, you know, it's certain rules and things that just have to be done, and like follow the court order. I think that it's just as simple as I could put it. You know, if they need to come back home or to their dad's for a break or for summer break, whatever, then like get that done, put a little location tracker on them. You know, that's just kind of the precautions that I would take. Maybe have their own phone where you could contact them, just depending on how your situation is. Again, everybody's situation is so different. Some people really get along and do good co-parenting. Some people it's like tumultuous and like just a little too much going on, too much drama. So it really just depends on your situation. What else? How did I find my village? For one, daycare. And also, y'all, a hack. Once I seen my oldest and how cool she was getting with some of the teachers and how the teachers were like really interacting with my kids, now I've actually hired 2 people from the daycare who babysit on the side to watch my kids. I tried one of them recently when I wanted to go to a volleyball league or a volleyball game or whatever. And let me tell y'all, my kids had a ball. She asked me how much do I want to pay her. She was very sweet. Of course, at the end of the day, I'm still gonna put a air tag on my baby because at the end of the day, I need to make sure I still take precautions while I'm kind of still getting to know the area. So you still take precautions, but at the end of the day, we put our kids in daycare. We put our kids in all sorts of environments with different strangers. I think you just need to use discernment. And also, that's why air tags exist. Like, put that junk on their shoe. Put that junk in their clothes. Like, make sure your babies are good. But also, you know, I have my friend who stayed in Pearland as well. She is also a single mom. So she, you know, I tread lightly on asking her. I made a video about using a YMCA for a resource to get that time to yourself. You don't even have to work out. You can just get that time. And just childcare is like my main thing. Also, it is Facebook groups that have nanny services. You can go to the church. Once you get acclimated, see those people who work in the daycares, ask them about their babysitting services, if they do anything on the side. People who have already kind of been vetted and who are in these environments, those are the people who I would ask. Medical insurance. This was a good one. I have struggled to get Medicaid, y'all. I'm not gonna lie, I still am struggling. But it's not because of for one, this is my 3rd or 4th time trying, but like Texas is so strict to where like I had applied for food stamps, Medicaid, also cash benefits, which is the worst mistake ever, because it's almost like the more help you need, the more you need to prove that you need help. Now, I may sound kind of ignorant as when it comes to this, because this is my first time like really needing this stuff. So when I tell y'all I felt like it was just hell trying to get this support, I think that the best tactic you could use, first off, the website is yourtexasbenefits.com. Secondly, when you fill out the application, you can put everything in one application, but I would suggest doing it 3 different applications or different applications, because certain things need different documents. So one of the things that I needed was like proof of how much my car is worth. What does that have to do with me needing food stamps? I don't know. I really don't know. Like, that's what I mean when I say Texas is a little bit more strict and more weird about their benefits. But I also think I provided too much information, which my friend, she works in a Medicaid office. She was like, you giving them like too many bills, and you could simplify the application. So again, this is my really first time doing all of this, so forgive me. And they do have a requirement. They take 90 days for Medicaid, so they don't have to even review your application for Medicaid until for 90 days. And food stamps, it is 60 days. So last time they did me so bold, y'all, they literally waited till like the week before that deadline was up, and then requested a whole bunch of documents within a week. And that's what I'm saying. Like, they are very weird, but I'm pretty sure it's a lot of hacks, like, you know, calling certain people, getting your stuff expedited. That's what Facebook groups are for. Getting like the Houston moms groups or the Houston groups, because that's who is like those natives, or people who've been here for a minute. They go give you the hacks to that. And last but not least, do I regret moving? I would say absolutely not, because when I tell you that God has sustained me throughout this entire time, like, it's almost just surreal how much God sustained me financially, where I was not starving, where I have not, I would say now in the month of May is probably the most struggle I have ever experienced. And it's mainly because money is tight. I'm probably going to be late on my rent in June. First time being late on my rent. I might have to pull for my 401k or like money from there. But again, like, this is the first month and I'm like 8 months in. But also, your girl got a job. And that's why I wanted to go back to the Facebook group, because I got a job, same day offer, very quick process. So crazy, because it's actually in mental health, in which where I'm going. And I actually start in June. So I'm really happy and I'm thankful. It did not have to take a year to find a job. I just really want to emphasize that. I could have probably found one sooner had I been looking, but I was so up and down because I'm also doing my internship for school, which is the final part of my graduation requirements. So yes, your girl has found a job. I am officially employed. And I am very happy. I'm very thankful. And I'm so glad that I like really just stuck things out, because it was uncomfortable to just not be able to shop when you want. When your kids need clothes, you just gotta kind of get them clothes, gotta pay for Afterpay, stuff like that. But I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I still kind of splurged on certain things. That's why I said it wasn't too dramatic of a lifestyle change for me, because of the way I manage my money, because of the money I had saved, taxes, also school refund checks. I just want to put that out there as well, which was kind of miraculous, because I actually ran out of financial aid, and by the grace of God, God came through. But yes, I did want to mention that it's funny, because like a good month in, I definitely was uncomfortable. So I really don't want to like put this idea that I was not scared, I was not nervous. I had never stopped and said, what the H am I doing? Like, I just want to be honest, because it was very scary. And I was thinking, like, I should just go back home and just take a little break from life, because why am I laid off as a single mom? Why have I been laid off for this long? I also was laid off in June, and I was trying to find a job. And in this job market, y'all know it's already hard to find a job. But to add to that, to find a job in mental health was very difficult for me, given that a lot of my experience has been corporate. So your girl had to finesse, and I definitely ended up getting a job. Thank you, God. And yeah, I'm very thankful, y'all. So I do not regret it at all. I think it's well worth the risk. I think that since being here, I have met different people. I plan on joining a volleyball league and just indulging myself in a new community of people, in a new community of moms. I've been great at, like, making friends. So if you're not good at making friends, you better get good, because your girl over here would literally walk up to somebody and be like, girl, I like those shoes. Like, what's your name? What you been, like, I will start a random conversation. I've always been like that since a kid. So if you're not like that, I'm sorry to you. I have found a church home. So we are slowly building my life. I only been here less than a year. So, you know, I'm just taking baby steps, and I just know God is good. I graduate in November, and I will be officially a therapist, and I've been blessed in that area as well. And in Texas, you can start a private practice, so I could go straight into private practice if I want, but it'd be much easier to find a job now that I have this experience coming up, and also I'm about to finish my degree. So I'm very happy that I pushed past. And if you are a person who is just like, should I do it? I'm scared. Is it gonna go right? Is it gonna go wrong? Like, see what type of factors that you can possibly control. Maybe like, if you have a car, like, I would not suggest coming out here without a car. I'm not gonna lie to you. If you don't have a car, or if you have a car, DoorDash, Instacart, plan on different videos like that. It's a lady on YouTube who gives so many different hustles that you can do. Use your gifts. Can you do hair? Can you do websites? Learn a gift. Make some shit shake. And if you have kids, I think you have to determine how worth it is it for you. I think you have to figure out what's your end game, what's your goal, and stay focused, because I think that's what really got me to this point. I really was in my Bible, y'all. I was really in my Bible, because I had to minimize the importance of having a job and maximize God. If you don't do that, you gonna be stressed out trying to come here and make something shake. But if you really think about it, are you breathing? Do you have all your limbs? Is your heart beating? Like, you're physically okay. So the credit score, the late bills, that stuff does not matter. You have time to build it up. And if you don't ever get uncomfortable, then life will force you to become uncomfortable. I struggled to leave my job making $80K. I struggled to leave that, because I'm like, I know I need to be in mental health, but I'm a single mom, and God forced that out of me. So yes, I'll get more into that later, but definitely make the move. And if you have any questions, link it or post it down below, and I'll answer it. So yeah, have a good day, y'all.